Brock Purdy making his triumphant return to the San Francisco 49ers, first game action since the NFC Championship game. What about Sam Darnold? What about Trey Lance? Stock up, stock down from preseason week 2 versus the Denver Broncos. Coming up right now.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Down 49ers, Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Eric_Crocker. Thanks everybody for joining us live post game, by the way, if you are with us on YouTube and making us your first listen every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Big ups to all the everydayers out there. We love you. You can be an everyday or just subscribe on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcasts. A furious week for you, Croc, going back and forth between California and Arkansas and maybe moving back to Cali a little quicker than you expected. So,
and Las Vegas. I was on stage with Charles Woodson. That was, yes. I tried to be cool about it, and I tried not to, be like fanboyish or anything like that. But I shared some cake with him, man. I shared cake with Charles Woodson.
Sharing cake with Charles Woodson in Las Vegas before the last preseason game, and then spending about 50 hours of your week on the road, going back to Arkansas, driving back again to move to California. So I'm glad to see you back in Stockton now, and you are now a California resident once again. So welcome back, my man.
I still have Arkansas plates. I still have an Arkansas ID, but I'll be fully back once I get that driver's license back to California.
There we go. What's the weight going to say on the driver's license, by the way? You're doing pretty good for yourself right now.
When you're on the road that much, it's a little tough. It's a little tough. So I'd say right now, still nothing too crazy, probably about 195. Probably.
All right, we got to get into this game. I got to ask you, though, what's the stop between California and Arkansas for you to get food?
Oh, man, you got Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's, they got them in like Texas, terrific gas station food.
Oh, it's a gas station.
Gas station food in the South is really good. Like people actually go to the gas station and eat.
You go there to get like the best barbecue. Is like you go to the right gas station, you find the amazing, like this one spot's got the best like chicken. This one spot's got the best like ribs or whatever. This spot's got burgers. It's different than gas station food in California. That's for sure.
Yeah.
The live chat is blowing up right now. People are pumped for this episode. Hit that like button. Appreciate all you guys. We got to start with the quarterbacks, though. Brock Purdy, it's nothing but a big stock up to see Brock Purdy out there moving the ball for the 49ers offense. Look, he wasn't asked to do a ton. A couple screens to Debo. Debo looked like he was in game shape, ready to go. A nice little drive for the 49ers offense. Brock Purdy looking a lot like what we saw last from Brock Purdy when he was healthy. And then the 49ers starters went down the field, couldn't put in the end zone, got the field goal, and got the heck out of there.
Man, first of all, I think Kyle Shanahan did a really good job of I don't think he had to settle Brock down, but if he did, getting him on the move, kind of getting him those high-low reads, and then Brock just being the facilitator that he is, getting the ball in the guy's hands. And like I said, Debo Samuel, I mean, the first play, huge run after catch opportunity there. The screen play, another big run after catch opportunity. So Debo looking slim, he looks back right. But as far as kind of winners on the day, it's definitely got to be not just Brock Purdy, but the 49ers as well, to kind of have their starting quarterback out there on the field and looking like Brock Purdy.
Absolutely. So that is the first easy stock up for me in this football game is Brock Purdy. I thought a pretty clear stock up in this one was Sam Darnold, Croc, because not only how he played, but and I didn't necessarily like it, but getting Darnold 2 extra drives to start the second half, not leaving a lot of extra time for Trey Lance to get himself rolling in this game was really a signal to me that Kyle was trying really hard to get Sam Darnold as much time as possible to be ready to play football as QB2 for the San Francisco 49ers this season.
I think Sam came in and he was efficient and he was throwing the ball well, but the results and the production wasn't quite there. It was really weird. Where I want to say I heard Greg Papa say at one point he had like 4 straight 3-and-out possessions, but it didn't feel like that when you were watching. It didn't look like he was someone that was erratic throwing the ball or, oh man, this offense just looks trash with Sam Darnold. It was, hey, I throw a nice pass over the middle, about 15 to 20 yards, but it gets called back because John Feliciano wants to hold. And I thought he did a terrific job beating the blitz there. So, even you look at the final box score, he had an interception that went off of Ronnie Bell's hands. There were a lot of things I felt like that didn't work in his favor in the sense of the box score, but when you just watched him, it looked like a guy that was in command. And I'm trying to view it through the eyes of Kyle Shanahan. And while I was watching it, I said, I could see Kyle Shanahan liking this. I could see him really being high on a lot of the things that he saw from Sam Darnold with some of the throws and ability. I mean, just I'm not gonna go there right now, but the deep outs on the money, with precision, like let me scramble up the middle, pick up 9 yards, slide down, look natural. Like there was a lot of good things out there from Sam Darnold. And I don't want to hype him up like he's just this amazing guy, but he was drafted number 3 overall for a reason. He possesses a lot of talent. And I think right now, at least verse 2s and 3s, you got a chance to see him put that on display. Can he do it against 1s and be consistent with it and not turn the rock over? Maybe not. But whatever he was tasked with in this game, I thought it looked good. He was a big winner.
Well, look, if Darnold or Trey got a shot with the 1s to throw the ball and throw screens to Debo, I think they would have looked a lot better too. So I think it looked better with the 1s, right? In this game, it looked really easy for the 49ers to move down the field with their good. It was nice to see the 49ers goods look good in this game and then get them the heck out of there, not having any injuries or anything like that. So I loved seeing that from the first unit with Darnold. And I think this was something that context is important in this. And we're going to talk about this today as it pertains to Darnold, as it pertains to Lance, as it pertains to how this game was played. Sean Payton in this game trying a little bit harder. He's a little extra. Him and John Harbaugh, they're different about trying to win preseason games, how they scheme up against teams in the preseason, blitzing guys versus vanilla looks. And it did hit the 49ers a few times. And when they got that second unit offensive line in and throwing some blitzes at them and then having some holding penalties, and that did derail some of the drives.
Yeah, what was that?
I don't think you can put it all on Darnold for some of those 3-and-outs and some of those drives. I thought Darnold looked pretty good. There was the bad deep ball throw that hung up there that could have been a ball that was intercepted. It wasn't nearly intercepted. But
he had Conley vertically down the field. Like that should have been.
That was a bad throw. But aside from that, I thought Darnold looked pretty good. And
the blitzes were wild. They were really consistently bringing 5-6 guys. And you typically don't see that in the preseason. But you talked about being aggressive. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is for the Denver Broncos, but I was watching. I'm like, man, I saw some stunts. I saw some dog blitz. Some guys that came late, bearing down on Sam Darnold. I'm like, man, this is not something you typically see, but it's good reps. It's good live reps for the quarterbacks.
You got to practice that stuff. So you like seeing it, to be honest with you. And Peyton was playing his 1s last week, and he had his 1s in this week too. And then he took Wilson out, but still had the rest of his 1s in the game. So he's definitely trying to get his system together, maybe more hastily than maybe some other coaches are around the league right now. So that played a role in it, I think. I think the biggest thing for Darnold is that, and this goes to training camp and it goes to the preseason games we've seen so far, is not a ton of turnovers. That's been the thing that's dogged him throughout his career. Not seeing the field clearly. Looks like he's seeing things okay. He's physically talented. He looks like a veteran quarterback out there. He's not fumbling the ball. He's not making bad plays. He's not throwing the ball to the other team a ton. So I think that's probably the biggest win for Sam Darnold. Plus Kyle Shanahan, it feels like now that it is flipped officially, and that Sam Darnold's probably got a good shot at number 2, which is the biggest stock up for him.
Yeah.
How about Trey Lance? He started bad. I even tweeted it out that his confidence looks lost. He threw a couple of turnover-worthy throws. One of them was picked off on the screen pass, and 3 turnover-worthy throws in less than a quarter if you count that 2-point conversion try. But I think you could throw that one out for sure. But still, you shouldn't be throwing multiple turnover-worthy passes in a quarter of play in the preseason, in the third, fourth quarter of a preseason game. So for that reason, I thought it was a stock down for Trey, a stock down for Kyle, not trying to get him into the game earlier. Felt like an afterthought for Kyle to get him into the game. Wanted to see more Darnold in the second half, which I didn't like at all. Didn't think we needed to see those extra couple of series from Darnold to start the second half. And then with Trey Lance, I will say, after it looked really bad to start, he started making some throws, and he didn't fold. And again, the context of how the Broncos played this, there were some soft zones. That touchdown to Latu, it was just kind of like, yeah, okay, we're playing pretty soft right here, end of football game type stuff, you know.
No, they blitzed the guy. It was a fire zone, and it left a void in the defense. So they were still aggressive, but it left a void, and he went from left to right and saw it. That wasn't even his first read. He started left, came right, saw it, and then and hit it. So I know we, in the sense of just, it's wide open.
A lot of space out there. There's a lot of space out there in the back end, right?
When you have that fire zone blitz, and somebody doesn't carry a guy, like, it can leave a void in the defense. You got to hope that the fire zone gets there before the quarterback gets to his backside read.
Yeah, and then the last drive of the game was somewhat similar, I thought, but I don't know if it was a stock up or stock down for Trey, how he finished. Did you feel really good about how Trey finished that football game, or did you think that there was that the way he started it was because he turned down some things, like that was the big thing, right? The turn downs from Trey Lance last week, and he had that going at the beginning. Balls were flooding around, and then he started to hit some plays. So was this something where we see him more series in the game, and we see him get the role? Like, is this just a rhythm thing for Trey Lance? What did you see from Trey Lance? What did you end up thinking about his play? Was it a stock up, a stock down? They drove down the play, and they drove down the field and won the game. He led game-winning drives, right? He led him on a comeback.
I think it was big time stock up for him. All right. Now, again, in the eyes of Kyle Shanahan, in the eyes of the team, I don't know. We did see Brandon Ayuk super fired up it caused a penalty, on the touchdown throw. But I think it was definitely stock up. This is a guy that you said early on kind of just looked like dejected a little bit, and having to try to find that confidence and get that confidence. And next thing you know, he completes 6 straight passes and then a touchdown. They kept saying 5 on the live stream. I'm like, wait, no, he completed that second down pass to Ronnie Bell, and then completed the third down pass to move the sticks, and he continued to go from there. But with him, it's not even so much about like the numbers or the game-winning drive, which again, that was probably his first game-winning drive ever. Like, because he didn't have one at North Dakota State. He didn't even attempt one at North Dakota State. Hasn't had one with the 49ers. So maybe in high school, maybe he had to try to go down. So for me, everything is about gaining experience. I thought that was good. The throws that he made, the tight window throws, the confidence that he had late in the game, all those things go towards really just the experience that he needs to gain. So to finish that way on that note, after everybody was just dogging you last week, I saw what they were saying. I hate I wasn't able to come on here, but doesn't belong in the NFL, doesn't this and that. I'm like, man, dang, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought there was some bad throws, some bad attempts, and maybe a sack that maybe didn't need to be had. But overall, I didn't think it was just the worst quarterbacking I've ever seen. But I thought in this game, man, they called a design draw play. He picked up the first down, but it got called back for holding. He completed a pass. Another pass, good timing rhythm. It got called back for illegal formation. I thought there were a lot of things that were trying to get him out of rhythm with some of the penalties that they had. He scrambled to the left. Nice throw on the roll on the run to the left to Tay Martin. He just flat out dropped it, right? So for Trey Lance, man, I thought for him, there were a lot of very encouraging things that he did and had to battle against some of the odds of the group that he was playing with as well. So the one knock I would have more than anything is probably, I felt like, especially consistently in the fourth quarter, the ball came out of his hand kind of funny. It was fluttering a little bit. Yeah. And I'm not one to say that, oh man, he throws these wobbly balls, but this fourth quarter, he did. They were accurate, and they were on the money, and they had to be, because some of them were tight window throws, but I don't think it was the cleanest passes that he's thrown, but he got the job done. I thought he finished high, and I thought that worked really good for his confidence.
I think there's a lot of people in the live chat right now that don't listen to this podcast and don't follow us, Croc, that are accusing me of some things. This is probably the first 15 minutes of this podcast is probably the nicest things I've ever said about Darnold and the worst things I've ever said about Trey Lance. And there's a lot of people here accusing me of a lot of things right now, which is really funny because it's clear to me that nobody listens to some of these folks don't listen to this podcast.
Well, they should, should listen. Make sure you guys subscribe and listen to
Not every day, and then that's a big problem, I think.
Yeah, gotta be everydayers because we talk about this stuff every day, and we try to talk about it from a lot of different angles. So I like the angle that you brought today.
Yeah, I like your angle too, Croc.
Thank you.
I like the angle that you're back with me this week.
Oh man, feels good, man. I'm back. Baby.
It's fantastic stuff. All right, next we got to talk about some other players, stock up, stock down in this football game. And who we think made an impression in preseason week number 2 to potentially make that 53-man roster. Next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers is brought to you by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Has there been a time when you felt like maybe you were a little uncertain about where you're going in life or what the right path was for you? And even if you kind of felt like you knew what the path was, how do you navigate that path? How do you get through it? Sometimes in life, we're faced with tough choices and the path forward isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, really anything else in life, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets, just like playing quarterback in the NFL, right? It takes practice to be better at some of these things. So if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Okay, I think this is the portion of the podcast where we have to mention Ronnie Bell, who might be the star of the 49ers this preseason.
Ronnie Bell did a terrific job. So, I was just live on Bleacher Report, and I kind of talked about it as well, kind of winners and losers. And when it got to Ronnie Bell, it's kind of complicated. All right, almost like Trey Lance, right? Like Trey Lance comes out, you see some maybe a bad read, or oh man, does he have the confidence, whatever? And then all of a sudden he gets hot. Right. And I think I saw the same thing with Ronnie Bell, a guy who came out, he did some things good right away. Really nice kick return. And first of all, you talk about stock up, stock down on Danny Gray. Looks like he got hurt, potentially a collarbone injury. We'll see. But that opens up the door for a guy like Ronnie Bell, who's doing punt return and kickoff return duty and did a good job of that tonight. 25 yards, I want to say, on the kickoff return, about 28 yards on a punt return. So he had an explosive punt return. But there's 2 weeks in a row he's had a ball go through his hands and eventually get intercepted. So 2 drops that turned into interceptions. And also had a fumble this game. So he had a drop ball that got picked off and then a fumble. And I'm like, you're not taking advantage of this opportunity you have. Ray McLeod, he opened up a door for you guys. Who's going to step in there and say, all right, I want this job? And then it happened. He's catching balls. He's running routes. He's getting open. He's, run after catch. They're throwing screens to him. He's breaking tackles. He's running through guys. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like Hines Ward Jr. or something. I don't know where, but it looked good. And this is a guy, I wasn't very high on coming out of college. I'd say the one thing that I'm trying to figure out again, where does he play? What is he going to do? He does not look like Tyreek Hill, but where is he going to be most successful? I'd say in the slot, because we saw on the outside, I think it was Sam Darnold threw a deep curl route to him. And you just see he never stepped on the cornerback's toes. All right. And when you step on, what I mean by that is you have to threaten the cornerback vertically, especially from off coverage. Like off coverage is tough. You got to threaten the cornerback vertically, get him to truly open up and run out of there, and then sit your route down, work back to the ball, catch the ball. Well, he's not fast enough to threaten guys like that. So they sat on his route, and that's tough. But if he can get out in more space, versus this off coverage and have more advantageous situations against safeties or maybe even backers, I think he can be very successful. So I think he's more of a slot receiver. I think he's tough enough to do it. We saw the slants over the middle. We saw that bang 8 he ran for Sam Darnold. That's like kind of like a skinny post. Darnold did a good job putting it right on him. And then the punt return value, man, you talk about stock up. I think between him and Chris Conley quietly too, he's doing very well. Did well against the Raiders, did well again today. I think those guys are making a case for why they should make this 53-man roster.
Yeah, I love the toughness. I love that he looks like he belongs for a rookie to come in and look like a 3-year veteran is what Ronnie Bell to me looks like. I think I think he's really carving himself out a spot to make the roster, and special teams is that last little bit that he needs. That little
Juwan Jennings or Ronnie Bell?
Juwan Jennings.
What?
I mean, Ronnie Bell's gotten a lot more opportunities. Jennings making some plays too, but Ronnie Bell's out there the entire game, gets an opportunity to make all these plays, becomes the number one receiver for the 49ers for the whole game. So, I think it plays differently. What I was about to say is when the season starts, we're going to see him a lot more probably on special teams than we see him on the offense. But the fact that he can return right now and might be the leader in the clubhouse to get that return job, the punt return job for sure, I think is huge. Sure-handed. And, he didn't return a ton in college, but he shows a nice little bit of run after the catch and maybe showing a little bit more than we saw on the tape at Michigan. Like I'm seeing a lot more from Ronnie Bell than I expected, to be honest with
you. Yeah, my guy Kevin Stander's like, Croc, I told you, but he's a Michigan guy anyways.
Yeah.
But you said Juwan Jennings, and I don't even think you had to think about it. So I'm going to ask you, and again, I'm asking you a question because I have a follow-up question. What does Juwan Jennings do well? I know what he does well, but when you think of Juwan Jennings and this is what he does, this is what he brings to the team, what does he do well?
He makes catches. He makes plays, makes first downs. It's not a ton of
it makes first downs. Kendrick Bourne made first downs.
He's where he needs to be, and his quarterbacks find him, and he makes catches. And he's ahead. More importantly, he's ahead of Ronnie Bell on the depth chart. Like that's why if you ask me who's going to make more catches this year, it's going to be Jennings if he's healthy because he's going to be on the field, and Ronnie Bell might not be.
But by default, but if you were to say today, all right, Juwan Jennings, we're going to cut you. First of all, guys, Juwan Jennings is not getting cut. But let's say hypothetically speaking, like Juwan Jennings, we're going to cut you. Ronnie Bell, you're gonna start in the slot. Where Juwan Jennings, what are you missing? Because remember when he was coming out, what do we identify as the thing that Kyle Shanahan would love the most about Ronnie Bell? Do you remember what it was?
It gets open versus zone coverage.
No, his blocking.
Oh, his blocking.
His blocking was the thing.
Yeah, toughness.
That jumped out the most. So when I think of Juwan Jennings, what is it? 5-yard out. He's tough. He does have some run after catch ability. Every once in a while, he might catch one vertically down the field, but it's not like I don't think you're. And again, I'm not trying to get too hyped on this kid. We haven't seen him do it against legit starters. Juwan Jennings, we saw him catch 20-something passes in legit regular season. But when I just think of what they bring to the table, Juwan Jennings, he's going to run your stick routes, catch those passes, and block very well. I think what I saw from Ronnie Bell coming out of college, he's going to block extremely well. He took pride in that. I thought that was the thing that Kyle Shanahan probably going to love about him the most. And then I'm like, okay, the other stuff we'll see. But what I'm seeing right now is, hey, I can free myself up on these routes. I can really work that 12 to 20 yard intermediate range. I can run the quick outs that he showed with Trey Lance throwing him those quick outs, 10-yard outs. He can catch those, and then you're throwing screens to him. So it's like, I'm not saying Juwan Jennings is some slouch, but when we start to kind of compare the two guys, it's like, what are you missing? I got to see Ronnie Bell do it in regular season, but just from a skill set standpoint, like what he's putting on tape, I mean, it's stuck up for sure.
There's one skill set we haven't mentioned yet that Jennings has that Bell hasn't shown yet, and it's the ability to not try to catch a ball with your face. So there's 2 back-to-back games. Ronnie Bell's been awesome both weeks. 2 interceptions straight off of him, right? Yeah. And so that can't happen.
And the fumble, you can't have that either. You can't. So maybe what we could say is when it comes to the difference is maybe just I can count on this guy to not do that.
I do have to say, because we've been through this over the years. If you follow a team for a long time, that the preseason hype will get kind of crazy around some players, and people get really excited about them, and they just kind of disappear when the regular season happens or don't even make the roster. Corey Sheets, remember Marcus Rush back in the day? Like those kind of players happen. I'm not saying that's going to happen for Ronnie Bell, but I'm seeing some crazy stuff in the chat right now. Hines Ward 2.0, the love child of Deebo Samuel, and I can't remember what somebody else said. It was like, you guys got to calm down a little bit. But I love what I've seen from Ronnie Bell.
I will say this though, a lot of it, and we talk about it, is opportunity. Like a lot of his opportunities. So Trent Sherfield, he does some good things. We're like, oh man, he's gonna have a big year. You know, he comes in, scores a touchdown on the first drive of the season, and then they just stop using him, right? But let's look at another guy, you know, a guy that's near and dear to my heart. All right, Isaiah Hodgins. He's on Buffalo. He was balling at Oregon State. He gets drafted. He can't even make their active roster for whatever reason, right? Just opportunity. Well, the Giants say, all right, y'all want to waive him? We'll pick him up. And all he does is go for 100 yards in the playoffs, score touchdowns every week. He's catching passes. So a lot of it is these guys that you see do well in preseason, well, they have more opportunity than they get in the season. It's like, well, we're actually just going to only throw the ball to Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel. So who's to say if you just say, hey, Ronnie Bell, you're going to be our primary slot. He can't do what he's done in preseason.
We've got a lot more stock up, stocks down to get to here in preseason week number 2. So stick with us next. Today's episode of it's not Peacock and Williamson. It is Locked On 49ers right now. It's brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Football season is about to kick off, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to win all season long, because right now, when you bet on a Super Bowl winner, you can get bonus bets every time they win in the regular season. Just pick any team, say the San Francisco 49ers to win the Super Bowl. Every time the 49ers win a game, you get bonus bets for all of those victories during the regular season. Then you can use those bonus bets on spreads, player props, over-unders. I love the website and the app and how easy it is to build your own parlays, and there's always special games happen every single day, and different ways to play at FanDuel. It's so much fun, and you can get in on all that action. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and start earning bonus bets with America's #1 sports book. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. All right. I just got to address this one more time because I keep seeing it in the chat. And John says, I think Brian is reading too much into Sam Darnold playing into the second half. Seems like an attempt by Kyle to balance the snaps between Lance and Darnold, since Lance got twice the snaps in the first game. What I will say to a lot of folks in the chat that are mad at me right now, I know there's a lot more Trey Lance fans than Sam Darnold fans in the chat. But what we try to do, what Croc and I always try to do, is be completely objective and tell you what we're seeing out there. And what I'm seeing out there is very likely, and like stock ups don't have to be one player outplaying the other. Sometimes just like, well, this guy's playing on special teams, so that's a stock up for him because he's more likely to win the job. What I'm seeing is it's probably more likely that Sam Darnold's the QB2 than Trey Lance. That's the way I feel about it right now. Love the way Trey Lance responded and finished the game, because it started bad, but I just think Sam Darnold's ahead, and he might never get it back. Like, it flipped this week, and it was planned, but I think this is kind of like, if you listen to everybody who's close, Papa, Mike Silver, some of the national media, somebody's telling them something. Maybe it's this Mac Jones thing again from 2021, but it really feels like it's going to be Sam Darnold QB2. I
don't know if we can put a whole lot of stock into what Greg Papa says, and I know he's around there, but between Greg Papa and who's the guy that's with him on the radio? Big guy.
That is why am I blinking on his name right now?
I listen to him all the time. I know exactly who he is.
I like them in the booth. Every broadcaster has a group of fans that don't like him and don't like their style. I like listening to Papa. I think he's a really good broadcaster.
They make it sound like Sam Darnold is like Peyton Manning. The Warriors World tweeted that out, and I'm like, I agree. Like that's what I'm hearing too. Like, if I just close my eyes and I don't know who they're talking about, it sounds like they're talking about Peyton Manning.
Yeah, Papa's comments, you weren't here for it. I talked about it last week, Croc, that Papa was basically making it seem like Darnold's pushing Brock Purdy for QB1 more so than he's in a battle with Trey Lance for QB2/3.
I
think it sounds crazy. Which
I'm not going to touch that, but I'm not going to touch that. It's hard though. If all you go off of is what we have seen through training camp and these games, just with what Sam Darnold does, what it looks like, and then just kind of imagine that with George Kittle and Debo and Ayuk and McCaffrey and Elijah Mitchell and all these guys, I could see how you could say, "Oh yeah, that might look. It might end up looking better." Like I don't know. I'm not gonna. I could see how somebody could say that if they just watched that.
Tim Ryan, by the way, is Poppers.
I remember he got in trouble for the whole said that Lamar Jackson, because his skin, it was blending in with the ball, you couldn't see the ball on the read options, and he got in trouble. I knew what he meant by it, but he got killed. He got killed for that.
Oh my gosh! All right,
I'm like, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean anything by it.
Croc, who else is stock up, stock down for you in this one? Actually, we didn't really finish the thought earlier. You mentioned Danny Gray. Danny Gray's back there returning kicks to start the game, which kind of was a good sign because they're trying to force him into that role. I don't think that's what he's best at. But then he got hurt doing that, so we couldn't go out there and play football on offense, which is where he needs to play to make the team. So getting banged up again, he's been hurt a lot with the 49ers. That's unfortunate. Now 2 games we're not seeing Danny Gray out there, so that's a stock down just from unfortunate circumstances.
Here's a stock down. Isaiah Oliver, definitely stock down. Deommodore Lenoir started in the slot. Stock up for Ambry Thomas, started outside, even though he got dogged on the double move. Did have a nice pass breakup early in the game. But Isaiah Oliver, like, there's a guy you brought in. They're like, hey, you go ahead and go be the starter. The next thing you know, week 2 of preseason, you find yourself as a backup. So I don't know how bad it's been in training camp. We focused a lot on the quarterback position, but definitely stock down on the guy who, it almost seemed like, hey, it's your spot. And he lost that quick.
What'd you think about the battle between Ty Davis-Price and Jordan Mason? Because Price started the game, TDP, and then he was in the game with a minute left in the fourth quarter because I think McNichols got hurt. They cut LeBourne before the game. They cut Awatt last week. So no undrafted free agents on the 49ers roster right now. I really feel like it's been clear for the last 2 years that Mason's the better runner, and then Ty Davis-Price whiffed hard on a pass protection early in this game as well. And I don't know. It's a battle we haven't really talked about a lot. I think it's more so running back 3 and running back 4 if Elijah Mitchell's healthy, but with Christian McCaffrey not playing, and we know how Elijah Mitchell's injury history is gone. I don't know. It's kind of a stock up that they cut LeBarn, and that I don't think McNichols is a threat to either one of them. So they're going to make the roster. Both guys are, but I feel like it's more of a stock up for Mason than Ty Davis-Price because Mason's just a better runner.
Well, I think last week it was Ty Davis-Price that ran well. And then this week it was Jordan Mason. You see how hard he worked. But and again, don't want to put a whole lot of stock in guys playing against the third string. I talked about it with Trey Lance, and it's like, for him it was different just to building that confidence versus some of those guys that likely won't make a roster. But Jeremy McNichols, does he look like when he touches the ball, does it look like he's moving at kind of a different speed? And he's not a blazer, but it feels like he's just knows exactly where he's going. Like there's no second guessing. He's looking like kind of quick, and he understanding how to like find those extra yards. Again, it's not the still curtain out there that he's playing against as far as defense goes. But McNichols, again, if you just rip the names off of everybody's jerseys, and you don't know who Jordan Mason is, you don't know who Ty Davis-Price is, you don't know who McNichols is, and you just watch them and how they run, and you ask like, who's the better back? How many people would say McNichols at the top? Like that, like to me, just watching him move. I watched him last week against the Raiders. And I'm like, hey, it looks kind of good. And then I watched him. I'm like, it looks like he's running kind of good again.
Yeah, he's got some quicks, that's for sure.
Yeah, he looks good.
How about? I feel like there's a lot of stock ups in the secondary. A lot of these guys that we weren't sure, maybe battling for the last spot on the roster. I think a lot of them are playing really well. Taylor Hawkins. And Womack making some plays, and the guy who I think is probably the biggest stock down because of all of that is Hartsfield, the guy they brought in from Carolina, Steve Wilkes guy, because unless he makes it purely because he's like an ace special teamer, I don't see how he can beat out any of these guys because he's behind everybody at every position and not making many plays.
Well, the stock down and Jameson, right? So Jameson, I thought Deshaun Jameson, he did some good things last week, especially in the return game. This week he muffed a punt, and you eventually lost that. He lost containment on a big run down the right sideline. He eventually took a good angle to make the tackle, but he got caught up just kind of like drifting inside. Next thing you know, he lost containment. Running back bounced it backside and broke off a big run. So that's going to be a knock against him. There was like another touchdown near the goal line he was kind of in the area, and you're looking and like, man, is that him again? So film session might be a little rough for him. A guy who I thought, last week, I'm like, man, he's trending in the right direction. Punt return looks good. Kick return looks good. Just has a nice natural feel for it. And in this game, he almost kind of tricked it off on the 49ers game-winning drive opportunity where he caught the punt, but then he starts running backwards, and he does not see the guy coming behind him. And I'm like, oh, man.
He looks like a much better kickoff returner than punt returner. And I don't think just being a kickoff returner is going to be enough. They're going to let Ronnie Bell do that. So that right now, I think there's a little special teams battle there between Bell and, maybe Danny Gray was involved with that tonight. Got hurt on his first return. He looked fast, but, he's just kind of running around the corners. He's a fast guy. I don't think he's much of a returner. And then Deshaun Jameson. And so I think that was a clear stock up for Ronnie Bell and a down probably for Jameson after a big week last week. How about a stock up for Ayuk and how hyped he was when Trey Lance hit Cameron Latu for the touchdown? I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Well, these players, they read everything. They see social media. They see everything that's being said. And Latu's been kind of being killed. Look, you're the one that drops the ball. It's not Eric Crocker dropping it. It's not Brian Peacock. Clearly, we're not out there. But you're dropping the rock. And then you fumbled last week. So it's not looking great. And then this week, he comes in, he makes some nice tackles and yards after, catch, and then catches a touchdown. And the players, because they see all that, like, they're excited for them. They understand, what these guys are going through and how you can kind of get in your head. So, I talked about for Trey Lance, and it's more so about just the confidence that brings with that last drive. But for Latu as well, like, that's okay, gets that monkey off your back a little bit. Okay, let me start stacking days together now and put some of those bad days behind me. So, yeah, that's good stuff. Now, ideally, you would like to be able to do that in the same game, right? We talked about Trey Lance, started out rough, and then he got that monkey off his back, finished strong. That's more ideal. Ronnie Bell, drop ball that gets picked off. You fumbled the ball, and then you finish strong. So it's like, man, you kind of go through those waves, but you finish strong. Latu, he's been kind of just feeling it all through camp, first preseason game, and then all of a sudden, like, to end this game, it's like, okay, there we go. And his players, I think they feel it for him too.
Last one, I lied. Jake Moody did the game-winning kick that just got in the uprights make up for the missed extra point earlier.
Moody, and then I also want to highlight Jalen Graham. I think he's been awesome. I didn't get to talk about him last week, but how he's shooting gaps, running sideline to sideline. You see it, and he just continues to flash. And he's actually in there before D. Winters, who D. Winters had a nice play in the game as well. But Jalen Graham, he's looking like, is he the next great 49er linebacker? A guy who we didn't know. I mean, when we watched him, it's like, okay, just strong side backer. No, they got him at that like Mike position. Like, he's playing off-ball linebacker and shooting gaps and looking good.
Yeah, in the game before D. Winters, in the game before McCrary Ball, which are the guys he's might be fighting for a roster spot with. I still am a little bit worried about Graham in coverage. The physicality is what we saw, which is why we thought he was more of a strong side backer than maybe an inside backer. So, but clearly the physicality is there. He arrives with a thump, and I love seeing that. And so good on the 49ers 7th rounders, Graham, Bell, not as much of Braden Willis in this game, but just the way they play, I think is really important. And that's what's carving their path to potentially making the 53.
You want to say Wisnowski for Winky?
Yeah, we'll save that for Wednesday, the Wink Wish watch. But really, there was kind of a stock down vibe for the whole special teams with the way that Gray gets hurt right off the bat, the muff punt, missed extra point, some bad punts. So
last week too is a disaster. All these penalties, holding penalties, a ton of them. So we'll say stock down on whoever the hell the special teams coordinator is.
Brian Schneider, I believe.
Yeah, so. Stock down on Mr. Schneider.
Raised right now on the podcast from Croc. And we haven't seen Zane Gonzalez even attempt to kick. Like, talking about rigged competitions, at least let Zane take one shot this preseason.
I saw him start warming up.
He kicked off a couple times, but no field goal attempts, no extra.
Was it Moody that kicked that like kickoff to like the 25 yards. I'm like, what
Yeah.
was that? And it looked like it was an accident.
Short one. That was strange. I don't know if he was trying to like do the thing where they put it to the 5, but then he kicked it to the 20 instead. That was odd. Anyway, all right. A lot of more takes, a lot more to get back to the film and have rewatches about this preseason game. Of course, Croc and I have you covered every day here on Locked On 49ers. Appreciate all of the everydayers out there. Thanks for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network. We will talk to you next time right here, Locked On 49ers.
Subscribe to this video.